Hi, New South Wales leads State of Origin 1-0 after winning 22-20 last night, and you'll have to forgive me for the different setting. I'm outside of my white void because the NRL is more stringent with its copyright for Origin games, and the replay isn't on the NRL website yet. And personally, I think I sometimes use footage as a crutch anyway. Please also forgive the bags under my eyes. I haven't had much sleep. I've been tossing and turning in my bed all night because something's happened to the game I love. It's been tossed in the back of a 1968 Pontiac Grand Prix and driven out just far enough. Now Peter V'landys and Ashley Klein are lit by a deep red light as they stare into the just still breathing body of State of Origin. And Ashley, what are you doing with that knife you took from your mother's house? The bunker's telling you to stop, Ashley, please! And I want to be clear, if this had been a game that, without improper intervention by Klein, ended up with a contest between two fullbacks on the line and whoever catches it wins the game and the ball falls to Tedesco for New South Wales to win, I would have been fine with that. That's the sport at its best. Your guy versus our guy, who wins? But we only get that scenario because the game is torn apart by Klein being the only person in the world who thinks that Ponga should have been sent off. I find that Origin being limited to 3 games every year makes every game feel like 6 regular season games, and thus my emotional response to them is inflated to the equivalent. And when my team loses, I'm looking for an explanation. If I can't find that, I'll take an excuse. And depending on which side of the tweed you were born on will depend on how you see Ashley Klein's decision to make the game all about himself by sending off Kalyn Ponga for playing rugby league. And I've played my hand here. I don't think it's a send-off. It's a sin bin because the game's gone soft. And if you don't want to listen to me on that, you can just ask the bunker who said it was a sin bin, or the match review committee, which only handed Ponga a grade 2 shoulder charge and a fine, or the fake immortal Andrew Johns who didn't think it was a send-off. A call which was credentialed on his blueness, but still talking about a Knights player. I see what you're doing, Andrew. I said yesterday this was the opportunity for the league to correct course from this season and its ref ball. And it seemed like that happened in the first half. We had 40 minutes of a real game of football where the Blues committed 5 errors and the Maroons won, and that played a large part in Queensland making it into the sheds with a 20-6 lead. And call me the bravest man of all time when I say that I like it when the players on the field are the ones who are deciding the result of the game. There was a little interference from the whistle in the first half. I'm still not satisfied that the penalty that led to New South Wales' first try, Queensland apparently closing a gap on James Tedesco, who was trying to flop his way through. I just think it was the case that Tino was turning around to look where the ball was going, and the width of Big Country was too much. But as we learned later in this game, looking at the ball in the air means nothing if you're wearing maroon. And if you're in blue, you can just run straight into and through anyone. But Queensland was excellent in that opening period. The Blues were absolutely terrified of Munster, and whenever he had the ball, they were partially retreating from him. Then Sam Walker was completely prepared for the moment, and Ponga was causing havoc, playing off Munster on the left edge especially. Some of the Blues' errors were uncharacteristic. I don't think I've seen To'o drop a ball for like 5 years, let alone play the ball incorrectly. Crichton I was unsurprised by because I was on a successful fraud watch. Don't let the casuals tell you otherwise. Stephen Crichton is first of all overrated, and second of all had a bad game in this one. 3 errors, just as many bomb tries, and only 3 tackles. Also jogged to watch Toya score his first try. There's our guy. And when you've got 2 representative teams made up of the most talented players in the world and Stephen Crichton, you can't commit errors in your own half because you're immediately punished. And that's good ethical football by the Maroons, scoring 3 ethical tries in the space of 7 minutes in the first half, which calls into question why they chose to take the 2 in the 20th minute on the Blues 20 when they were absolutely gassed. That was the opportunity to really put them to the sword, and hindsight is 2020, but that felt like a missed opportunity. One they tried to make up for later in the game when they were in a similar position, and Grant and Munster overruled the calls from the bench for 2 to try and go for another 4 points, in which they were unsuccessful. Would have put them at 22, but it doesn't matter now. Ashley obviously got a call at halftime saying, hey mate, there's actually a game going on out there, one where Nathan Cleary is playing real bad, fix it. And just as an aside, does anyone remember how the NRL used the preliminary finals last year as a ref-off between Ashley Klein and Grant Atkins to decide who would referee the grand final? And Klein called 18 penalties in his games and Atkins like 2, including a no call where no one was sin-binned after a small scrap. They gave Atkins the grand final and no one remembers a single call that he made from that game. Then when they have to nominate a referee to go for the Ashes, they chose Atkins and not Klein. What happened to that? Ashley Klein failed his performance review and got promoted? Anyway, since Ashley didn't get the opportunity to put his stamp on the game in the first half, he took the second 40 as an invitation to make it about himself and quickly. Now, some blame goes to Ponga for giving the referees an invitation to make the decision in the first place. He's coming across at speed to cover a man on the breakaway, but the really frustrating thing is that Walker had him and forced an error in the process, but I understand Ponga doesn't see that. He just sees a guy who is known for his speed and for breaking tackles get through the line, and in his mind, he's the only thing between Kohler and the try line. And maybe this is me not understanding how hard playing professional football is, but surely, given the way the rules are, wouldn't Ponga just throw an arm out in a gesture of like, I am attempting compliance with the rules? Because if there's an arm involved at all, it's a head clash, a bad one, and nothing more. Kohler's falling, they're both sprinting, bodies hit bodies, that's the sport. But Ponga doesn't react to Kohler falling in time and the first contact is head to head, then I'll admit there's maybe a shoulder. But to go to the extent to say it's an illegal play, it's cover defense. He's attempting to make a football play. He gets it wrong and some intervention is necessary, but to send a bloke off for that is ridiculous. Especially when the bunker, with the benefit of replays and camera angles and so on, is telling him, presumably, that it's a sin bin, and Kleiman is still able to overrule that on a matter of discretion is ridiculous, because what does he have over the bunker in that situation which gives him better insight about the right call? The vibes? That's another weakness in the system, and it's stupid that he can do that, because what's the point of the bunker in that case? And this is where New South Wales fans, if they've made it this far, might say, what about Suaalii? Yeah, what about it? He tried to kill Walsh. So because of that, New South Wales get 23 minutes with a man advantage and spend the first 13 of those with very little clue about what to do. I think New South Wales' attack was generally very poor in this game. They got stuck in their own end a lot. Cleary kept kicking to Cobbo, who was a confidence-based player who kept catching them and getting more confident. He got himself tackled late in the count a whole bunch. He didn't trust Strange with any opportunities until they had a one-man advantage. And it seemed like in the time that an actual football game was being played, their best and only option was to give the ball to Hamali Alakwatu, who was very good with it. So no, I'm not crediting Nathan Yahoo with an origin moment for taking over a game in the last 10 minutes against a team down a man with repeat set after repeat set. Hey, well done. You kicked a 40-20 against a team that can't leave a man back on the wing. Or great job, Nathan. You were so afraid of leaving time on the clock for your opponent that with a kick basically directly in front of the post, you do a breathing exercise for 30 seconds and reset, you cat. It goes in the win column, whatever, but with an asterisk. And Cleary remains a fraud. I'm not talking about any of the New South Wales tries. None of them count. Those are all fake tries. In a 13-man contest, the only points that they managed to score came off the back of Tedesco running into a guy. I will say, Kohler played very well. Strange played extremely well. Staggs was excellent. There was a point in the second half where the Maroons attacked down their left edge and it looked like a break until Katoni came through and smothered Cobbo. That's the Maroons falling into Katoni's trap of playing what they see and getting into what looks like a gap, except they forgot the matchup. Katoni isn't going to commit to a defensive decision until you make an offensive decision, so he never fully commits to Hammer, which gives him time and space to chase Cobbo using the sideline as an extra defender. Who else was good? Tedesco was good. I think I have to admit that. McLean was like worryingly excellent immediately. He only played limited minutes, but I did not like what I saw as a Maroons fan, and that's kind of it. Maroons, I haven't mentioned, Max Plath was excellent. Capewell was an absolute warrior. A kick is only as good as its chase, and Capewell made a lot of Walker's kicks even better. No one I'd really say was bad for the Maroons. Maybe Fine Fuiaki can put pressure on Nikara's spot in the next few weeks, but I don't see them doing much more than tinkering around the edges. Anyway, Maroons move on to seek revenge at the MCG. I think they'll probably run with the same lineup again. But that's a completely accurate, unbiased report on Game 1. If you have any comments to the contrary, you are wrong. And if you want to comment an AI picture of Ashley Klein in a Blues jersey, I completely agree with the sentiment, but they will be deleted as usage of AI is banned in these comments by order of Pope Leo. And you will not see the light of heaven, and neither will Ashley Klein. All right, bye.